Hello everyone and welcome to a duel between two historical battleships. The first being the infamous Bismarck of the Kriegsmarine, and the next being the advanced HMS Vanguard. We will have 3 duels, one at 10,000 meters, one at 15,000, and one at 20,000. And the first duel at 10,000 meters has begun. We start as the Bismarck. Let's see if she is able to do significant damage to the Vanguard. Or he. Actually, it might be he. Vanguard over here technically has the upper hands. More armor, more advanced generation of radar. However, the Bismarck is just good old-fashioned German steel. And has a pretty good chance to hit already. Plus, with turtleback armor, she might actually be able to, deflect a whole lot more shells than the Vanguard. Bismarck taking a lot of flooding, but Vanguard does also take a very big hit and seems to be down structurally. However, Bismarck is down in terms of flooding, or floatability. Bismarck's secondaries, I believe, are a lot more powerful. However, Vanguard, I think, has more. Vanguard's secondaries are unable to do really anything. Actually, both of the ship's secondaries don't really do anything, to be honest. Vanguard's secondaries actually seem to be hitting a lot more, but Bismarck's gun seems to be hitting a lot more. Vanguard is turning in a way that their front 2 guns cannot fire. I believe Bismarck is able to bring at least 3 of her guns to bear, if not all of them. Oh, maybe not. Actually, her aft turrets are no longer able to fire. This is how this engagement is going. Both ships go 30 knots, however, Vanguard is down to 23.5 knots, while the Bismarck is at 23.8, so a little faster. Able to close the distance, which it should have the advantage. Even though the Vanguard can fire a lot quicker at 30.7 seconds, Bismarck should have more powerful guns and more penetration, even though the reload is 47.5 seconds. Bismarck is heavily flooded. Vanguard is also very heavily flooded though. Very close fights. Technically, Vanguard is actually smaller than Bismarck. Technically, in terms of use displacement. Bismarck is flooding out and quickly, still no angle issues, which is surprising considering that is a really big list. The water is on the deck and yet Bismarck is still able to fire at the Vanguard. Vanguard might actually win this with rate of fire alone. Bismarck has a really good chance to hit, somehow better than the Vanguard, even though Vanguard has Gen 3 radar. Bismarck only has Gen 1. I suppose it is the barrel length. Also, chances are if you're watching this, you're probably not subscribed. So please subscribe. It's free. Helps me out a whole lot. And yeah, I appreciate it. Bismarck still able to fire. Vanguard still able to fire. Both ships still floating, but barely. Bismarck has way more structural integrity, but less floatability. And keeps getting hit with flooding hit after flooding hit. However, the midsection of the ship doesn't seem to be getting hit with very much flooding. Vanguard is still unable to use its front turrets, and Bismarck still unable to use its aft turrets. Lots of big hits. This has definitely become a brawl at less than 10 kilometers at this point. It seems that the battle is going to be coming to a close very soon. Bismarck is no longer flooding, and Vanguard is. Actually, Vanguard might be flooding out. She has way too good flooding, anti-flood capability. She is... Oh, she was stabilizing. She's actually going back down. Her middle compartments are being flooded. She's not able to counter it effectively. She actually might go down to flooding. Which is funny, because Bismarck was the one that was flooding out originally. It looks like the Vanguard might flood out. She is starting to turn away. Bismarck has gotten to a point where I believe she can use most of her guns. Can she use her back guns yet? I do not know. I don't think so. I do not believe so. Vanguard is very close to flooding, but so is Bismarck. So is Bismarck. Vanguard and Bismarck very close to flooding. It's the next big flooding hit's going to decide it, I think. Vanguard is flooding again. Actually, she might go down to this. I think she is. She can't stop the flooding. Every compartment, and... Oh, just barely. One more flooding hit, she's gone. One more flooding hit, she's gone. She's barely holding on. Barely holding on. Less than 1% of floatability is left. or Vanguard? I'm assuming the list is absolutely terrible. Yep, flooding the deck at this point. I mean, there's still a chance. She gets a couple good flooding hits in Bismarck, it still might be over. One way or another, both of these ships would be very irreparable for a long time. Oh, and there's the flooding, and Vanguard takes her first loss. Next duel is at 15,000 meters. Bismarck is immediately opening up, pointing directly at the Vanguard. Vanguard is also pointing directly at the Bismarck. Let's see how this battle unfurls. Technically, the Vanguard should have an advantage the further out we get because of the Gen 3 radar. However, Bismarck does have stereoscopic rangefinder, so they kind of even out. And it shows as she lands the first blood. However, Vanguard gets a better hit and flooding in the aft, and the rudder is already gone, which is probably not going to be great for the Bismarck, though, I mean, it's a very historical thing to happen. I believe Bismarck can use all of her guns. Yes, she can. Well, I believe Vanguard is only able to use her front guns. Yes, only the front guns, which means Bismarck is at a very good advantage at the moment. However, Bismarck is starting to turn away to a point where she might not be able to use her front guns anymore. Let's see. No, still able to use most of her guns at least. And she's even getting good hits. Conning tower destroyed. That's a taken. Because Bismarck actually has conning tower protection, while the Vanguard has nothing, because that's a British thing. Vanguard is unable to hit things, well, still able to hit things, but with the captain dead, less able to. Plus getting absolutely destroyed by the Bismarck, also trying to close distance. Very interesting tactic. I would not assume that the ship with the long range capability would want to close in, but she does have a coincidence rangefinder, so maybe that means that the game really wants her to close in. However, it's not doing her any favor. She got a small thing hit on the Bismarck, but the Vanguard is being pulled apart. This is very, very interesting, folks. Yeah, 3 inches of conning tower, not a whole lot of superstructure either. Meanwhile, Bismarck has a lot more protection, at least on the conning tower. They are almost going to ram. They have close to extreme close distances, less than 2 kilometers. Look at that. She's going to open fire at this close range. I think Vanguard's going to. She might do a lot of damage. Surprisingly not. Surprisingly not. Which means Bismarck got to the good hits. Actually, it's looking very bad for Vanguard right now. Vanguard is not looking too hot. She is not looking too hot at all. I don't know why these ships decided to close the distance, but it is not going very good for the Vanguard. It's closing into the Bismarck, even though Vanguard has a higher rate of fire. It looks like that actually might be her doom. However, Bismarck has actually gotten to a point where the secondaries, I believe, she's getting eaten up by the Vanguard secondaries, and has angle issues. Vanguard does not have angle issues. This actually might spell the doom of Bismarck. Oh, her guns are able to fire. They're not, though. Oh, she's fired yet again. They have done pretty significant damage. However, the Bismarck herself is already at 31% crew losses. However, Vanguard's also at 25%. A lot of crew have died here. Bismarck's 4.1s are out of action, while Vanguard's all of her guns are still in action. Vanguard only has, I believe, 8 5.3s per side, while the Bismarck has 6 5.9s per side. She also has a bunch of 4.1s, however, those are now out of action. Let's speed things up a little bit. Bismarck looks very bad and actually might flood out, and there she goes. Bismarck takes her first loss. And the third final round, we are at 20,000 meters, 20 kilometers. Bismarck immediately turns away. Interesting. I assume Vanguard's trying to close the distance. No. They are both trying to make distance. It's interesting because they're over 20 kilometers away from each other. Bismarck gets a hit that ricochets. Vanguard, I believe, got a hit, but it didn't do anything. No, Vanguard's got no hits. Bismarck had 1 hit. There we go. Ooh, a huge hit by the Bismarck. Both ships got a hit. Bismarck did a lot of damage, and Vanguard did not do very much. However, Vanguard has finally retaliated with a somewhat decent hit. Both ships are flooding. Looks like Bismarck is mostly able to contain it. It is again in the rear. However, this time the rudder is still able to be used. Bismarck only has about a 20% chance to hit, which is not horrible. Not a horrible accuracy, considering she only has Gen 1 radar. Vanguard is also not opening up. Vanguard actually might be out of range. Folks, I don't know if you knew this, but the Vanguard has barely 20,000 kilometers range, or 20 kilometers range, which might not be very historical, but that's what I had to do to actually make the guns work in terms of penetration, reload, and all that. So it actually might mean that Bismarck has the advantage at range, which is showing obviously, as the Vanguard was unable to fire for the better part of a minute. Vanguard is now opening up now that they are within 20 kilometers. They are again closing in to probably ram, I would assume. However, Bismarck is getting good hit after good hit. However, we have seen this like last round. The closer they get actually seems to be more in favor of the Vanguard. Let's see how this plays out. Good hit on the Bismarck by Vanguard. Empower is getting damaged, but not dead just yet. 4.1s are actually still in, they're still in order, able to fire, which might be able to turn the tide. Maybe the crew loss will be able to take her out, the Vanguard that is. A lot of good hits on the Vanguard by the Bismarck. Bismarck's taking a lot of hits, but still pulling through. There's a couple more flooding hits. Bismarck is significantly less able to take care of her flooding. However, Vanguard's already almost flooded herself. All the ships have flooding in near every compartment. However, Bismarck seems to be putting out most of the flooding pretty easily, while the Vanguard is simply unable to put out the flooding. And this actually looks like a Bismarck win. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to the Bismarck. Congratulations to the Bismarck of the Kriegsmarine. This is actually a great upset. In test games, the Bismarck is the one that lost most often. However, she got very lucky in all these engagements. So, congratulations, Bismarck takes her first win of the series. Alright folks, thanks so much for watching, and please like and subscribe and leave a comment about the next ship you would like to fight the Bismarck or maybe even the Vanguard. That's all folks, see you later.